Trump has won the election. What does this mean for the UK and what does it mean for Europe? Welcome to Bridge the Channel. Hello and welcome to another episode of Bridge the Channel, the first episode of the new Trump era. What might this mean for the UK and Europe? Let's explore. The first thing, of course, to consider is the implications of the new Trump presidency for UK-US relations. There's no way to hide the fact that basically Trump is antithetical and opposes a lot of things that the British government wants, particularly a UK under a Labour government of Keir Starmer, on so many issues from climate to Ukraine to international security to multilateralism. Trump really goes against the basic goals and the basic principles of UK foreign policy. In particular, there's two major issues that seem to be at stake here. The first, of course, is Ukraine, where the UK has always led the Western effort for a strong stance against Russia, and right now this is in danger of being undermined. And the other thing is international trade, and particularly the question of the famous Trump tariffs. And now you may remember back in the day that one of the promises of the Brexiteers was that Brexit would allow the UK to come closer economically to the United States. But what will that mean under a Trump president? Would it mean that the UK will actually suffer from all those tariffs? Or would it mean that in order to avoid all those tariffs, it will actually have to sign a very lopsided and pretty aggressive trade deal that will satisfy Trump? Of course, right now, all those are hypotheticals. We don't really know where Trump is going to fall on all of those issues, but it's fair to say that the British government is preparing for the worst. Next up, UK-EU relations. It is fair to say that the Trump presidency comes at a very awkward moment for the UK and the Starmer government. Of course, on the one hand, the Starmer government showed from the beginning that it wants to improve the climate of its relations with the EU. But as we said many times here, it is not quite ready yet to do big concessions and to usher into a new era of very close relations with the EU. The domestic politics in the UK are simply very complex for that when it comes to issues of single market and particularly freedom of movement. Particularly if things go very bad in Ukraine, probably the UK and the EU together will have to pick up the slack there and try to support Ukraine in whichever way they can. In so many ways, it really seems unavoidable that the UK will have to come closer to the EU. Will there be political will in London to do this? And most importantly, will there be appetite among the British public to accept this? We'll just have to wait and see. Finally, the Trump presidency and the Conservative Party. We may have missed it around the whole Trump noise, but actually the Conservative Party has a new leader, Kemi Badenoch, who actually belongs to the right wing of the Conservative Party, and she shares various ideological affinities with Trump. For example, both of them are opposed to so-called woke ideology. Is the fact that Trump now is elected an asset or a liability for Kemi Badenoch as she tries to rebuild the Conservative Party? Some people think it's an asset because obviously it might be good for Badenoch to have a US president with whom she shares so many ideological similarities. But I have a different take on this. I think it's important to remember that while various ideas of Trump might be popular, for example on migration, Trump himself is quite unpopular here in the UK. If he actually starts doing things that the British public doesn't like, on Ukraine or on tariffs, for example, then it may be very difficult for Badenoch to maintain this image that she is very close to Trump. We may actually see Trump becoming a major liability for the Conservative Party moving forward. My expectation is that at least in the first few months of the Trump presidency, we will see a rally around the flag effect around the Keir Starmer government. The Trump presidency right now raises more questions than answers, and probably the UK is the place to be when we try to understand the implications of the Trump presidency at the intersection of US, EU and UK politics. There's so many things to analyze in the future, and Bridge the Channel will be here to do this for you. Until next time, take care.